I figured today it's time that I actually do something I've been putting off for far too long. I'm gonna play with a long black tube for you guys on camera. What? What were you thinking about? Center. NZXT's build is a quick and easy way to get a new gaming computer, and right now they're proud to announce expansion and availability to Australia, the Netherlands, France, and Italy. Build a gaming PC on your budget using the built-in configurator and see exactly how your favorite games will perform. Want to build your own PC but still have the NZXT Peace of Mind warranty? Then the new BLD Build It Yourself kit has what you want. Buy it and build it yourself, and NZXT has you covered. To get started configuring or building your next gaming PC, visit the build link in the description below. So this is gonna be my first time actually holding up the black PMMA to the silver fittings, and I think it's gonna look really good. I've actually not held any tubing up to this build to kind of get an idea of what it's gonna look like. So what I have to finish from the other day is, remember the front RGB wasn't turning on. I don't think I plugged it in, it's down here, I'll find it. I did get the short cables I ordered for my monitor. So the monitor is powered by USB, which is plugged into the board right here. It has to be plugged into a super speed. And then HDMI cable, 1 foot cable plugged into the graphics card right here. It does work. I already tried it. So there we go. But we're gonna kind of do this more of a B-roll style today because, like I said, I really want today to be me actually getting the system fired up under its own power, under its own cooling, and I've got to figure out the loop because there's one other thing I got to get in there. This will be my first time ever using any sort of a flow meter in my systems. And I still think I want this to be coming right off of the reservoir, the out, which is right here, between the in on the graphics card, because my loop order is gonna go pump, or obviously reservoir pump combo, pump out to the GPU, GPU to the CPU, CPU to this rad to this rad, and then that goes right back to the reservoir. It does not matter if I go CPU or GPU first. It does not matter. So for the love of God, please stop arguing that point. This is not a car. We do not have massive deltas in temperatures between an engine block that's creating thousands of degrees inside the cylinder trying to be cooled by liquid. We are talking about something that has only, what, maybe 30, 40 C difference between the hottest component and the fluid temperature itself. Doesn't matter on the order. But I had actually thought about doing a parallel loop where it comes out of the GPU and then goes right into the CPU, and then, so it comes in here, comes out the backside, goes into the CPU block. But there's not enough room with how close I have it to the motherboard. And if I switch the spot where this is, then obviously I lose my screen. So I'm just gonna have to try and figure out the best way to make this all work and not look stupid. I do have several boxes of this, so I can kind of, I don't know, I can sort of play around with it and see how it's gonna look. I'm just worried about this area here because of the fact that the GPU is just slightly offset from the CPU, as you can see. So it doesn't make a clean 90. And I've gotta go from this side to here. That's the problem. This is the in for the water block. There is a specific in, which happens to be on the right. A block that doesn't have a logo on it, you can just flip upside down to change the inside. But I can't do that because then my logo would be backwards CTR. That's not gonna do anything. So that's the challenge today, is to make this area look proper. Easy bends here, 90, 90. This will be a 90 down into here. I've sort of had to squish these plugs right here, as you can see, the EPS power. I've had to sort of squish those down, but it does actually clear. Ooh, 3D. It does actually clear. I do like the way that this tubing sort of just stealths into the build. This is my second build that I've done for myself. Actually, my second build period. No, third build period that has black tubing. This is my first time using actual black tubing. Typically, I would just bend clear tubing and then paint it, which I always said would look terrible. And then I found the SEM trim paint, which is automotive paint. Absolutely amazing stuff. It self-levels, it looks perfect. Looks just the same as this. So I'm curious as to when I bend it, if I'm gonna get any sort of bending stretch lines in the PMMA. Let's just go ahead and make this interesting in some way while I build, I don't know, probably at least my 100th water-cooled build on this channel, something like that. Well, after what, 6 months or something like that, the journey is finally finished, which means you all can say thank you, because now that I'm done with this means new CPUs, new graphics cards, new everything's gonna come out because it's done. And that's fine. I don't need the absolute latest generation stuff. That's why I was still on 10th gen. Got it booted up. Fun fact, went to install Windows, and then I forgot to put, I didn't put any M.2s in there. Because part of me was like, I'm just gonna use the ones from my old system, plop them in there, let it reconfigure itself and be up and running as if nothing ever happened. Filled the loop, got it all nice and booted, and then we went, oh, there's no drives in it. So then I got to completely drain the loop, see how, well, test run, how well it was gonna drain, and actually pretty well because of all the swivel fittings, as you can see here. Yes, this is a lot of fittings, and I kind of wanted it that way, to be honest. And I'll tell you the truth, that's actually why it was so easy to drain, because of the fact that I could swivel tubes out of the way and like kind of catch the coolant in each component as I took something out. I did graphics card out, so I was able to swivel those up, the CPU fitting up out of the way, after pushing as much air out as I could and draining it through the drain on the back, which works flawlessly. Those EK drains are really nice because there's no valve, it's just a pull ball stop. It all works fine except for the panel, the little panel, as you can see. For some reason, it keeps turning on and then turning right back off, even though we know we're getting power to it. Nick got it to work once on a laptop by having it plugged into USB and HDMI, then we brought it back over here and it won't work, and we can't get it to work again on the laptop or anything. So we think something might be borked with this panel. I'll be replacing this 7-inch panel, which is fine because I can unscrew everything from the backside right here. It's kind of a pain in the butt, but it is doable. Panel will come out, and then this bezel we printed should fit any 7-inch display. Should. If not, then we'll just print a new panel or a new bezel. So that's the only thing not done technically is the sensor panel. As you can see, I got Asus Aura and iCUE up and running. So I have iCUE for the memory, got Aura for everything else, which is nice. One piece of software handling all the main components, and then I could technically let iCUE also control Aura because it does have a SDK plugin that allows it to control Aura as well. I might give that a shot, but everything is working. That's the best part. Everything is working. Temperatures are perfectly fine. My water block is performing well. And I'm not gonna even bother going through and doing any sort of like performance figures. Guys, it's gonna perform exactly like the RTX 3090 Trio is gonna perform from MSI. Remember, this only has a 2% power limit like that you can adjust to give yourself more power. Even at home, I don't use the additional power limit in my Founders Edition card. I leave it at 100. Now that it's water cooled, I should be able to maintain clocks nicer. The system is more gonna be quieter overall. I've already had this particular card in a gaming rig on this block, so I know that it doesn't coil whine like a monster. That's another thing, you never know whether or not you're gonna have a card once you put a block on it. Is it gonna resonate the coil whine through the block? And is it gonna make it louder than if it was on a air cooler? Fortunately, this block is completely silent, no coil whine. The only thing too I still wanna do with this rig is the plexi side panel. I may not even put that on. I may just leave it as an open air rig like this. But I still want to take that piece of plexi to a local custom glass shop that we have here and say, can you recreate this plexi panel in clear tempered glass? Probably going to cost a fortune, but I think that would be like the piece de resistance on this system right here. Or I can just leave it open air like this. I mean, it's not like the glass on the side is going to keep dust from getting in. But anyway, I think this is one of the more unique loops that I've done. I've never used this many fittings in a loop. And I even balanced it out where I went, okay, I've got all these extensions. Actually, it started up here. I've got this extension, a 90, a rotary, offset rotary. And then I got these extensions here and I went, this is really heavy. How do I balance this out? So then I added a ton more fittings over here coming off of my flow meter, which is funny because I've never used a flow meter before. We are currently flowing 2.34 liters per minute because I don't have it maxed out. It'll flow 5 liters per minute at max speed. A D5, it's no joke. But it is a PWM pump, so I can speed it up and slow it down with BIOS or any sort of fan control software. Or in this instance, I'm going to be installing fan control, which is that fan software we showed you guys that I said everyone should be using and donating to that developer. And I'll be able to then control the pump also if I need to with CPU temp. Fun fact, you don't need to actually speed up and slow down your pump with temperatures. You can just leave it at a static speed, it'll be fine. You're not gonna actually slow down or cool off your system by flowing coolant through it faster. Once it reaches a certain flow point, it doesn't help cooling at all. In fact, it could actually dump more heat into your coolant because of the fact that the D5 is cooled by the coolant. So if that D5 controller is creating more heat, it can add more heat to the loop rather than help. So we find a nice equilibrium on flow and then you're good to go. Filling the loop was super easy. The Spectre 3 features a thicker distribution block res built in, so that It's easier to fill, it has more volume, which means you don't have to sit there and constantly use a squeeze bottle or a funnel and a tube to fill it up, fill it up, fill it up. By the time it drained one complete fill, I was obviously squeezing, cooling in with my squeeze bottle as it was going down. And before it even made it to the bottom, it was already dropping back in from the rads. I've got about 1.5 liters of fluid in this system, so it's a pretty decent sized system. And the weight of it, Jesus, I'm so glad that I had Nick print this little shim right here. I'm almost thinking I need him to print another one that's taller to go out here on the end and one on the other side too, because it still has a little bit of wobble to it, because it is absolutely a brick when it comes to, Phil was like, no joke, this graphics card with this block and these fittings is 10 pounds by itself. And that's accurate. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I hope this build has inspired you in some way. One thing I wasn't expecting is the fact that on the back here, my logo and my JayzTwoCents text actually lights up with the power board. I didn't know that because we didn't check that. So it's lit up and I'm not gonna be able to see it because it's on the back side, but I know it's there and it looks great. So there you go. What would you change if it was your build? What's your favorite part of this build, or do you think it just looks like absolute dog shit? Which is fine too. But it's my dog shit. And they say you can't polish dog shit, but I just did.